All right. For our listening audience, we're doing something a little bit different. But one, we're on a Friday night. I don't think we've ever recorded on a Friday night. I guess what happens when you have a guest reschedule and the pandemic. I don't know.
That's right.
Normally,
that happens.
It does happen. What else is also different? Silent Rob is here tonight, but we're not going to refer to him as Silent Rob because he will be vocal, talking Rob.
I'll actually be speaking tonight.
Yes, and we also are joined by Marion Duke Hazelgrove Jr., a.k.a. Duke.
And thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming over here on a Friday night. So we got Duke
Yes,
Rob.
I had a busy schedule, and I had to make some room for you guys.
You are a busy cat. There's no question about that. All right, so we're going to talk about growing up in Ashland, which is the third thing that's different about this. Normally it's guest-oriented, but we're going to talk about three dudes that were born in the late 60s, grew up in the 70s and 80s, and graduated high school essentially. Well, Rob, because you're the oldest, I would say you graduated in the mid-80s. Duke and I graduated in the late 80s.
Correct, yeah.
We'll go with that.
I guess I'm still considered that, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll say that Rob is now 54, I'm 53, and Duke is the youngin' at 52.
The baby at 52.
That's right. All right, so let's talk about growing up in Ashland at a high level from your own perspectives. Rob, we'll start with you. What was it like growing up in Ashland? Or you can talk about your first memories or just what your recollections are.
Yeah, well, you guys will tell, but I'm pretty sure y'all were there from the get-go. I moved to Ashland when I was almost 6. I grew up out the Elmont area. I actually grew up first 5.5 years of my life at the farmhouse where Henry Clay was born.
And, where is that?
Cool.
It's Elmont is what it's considered. It's out I forget the road. It's like a Stumpy.
Okay.
Out that direction. The Taylors, who've part of the Taylor clan, who's been around Hanover for since the beginning of time. They own the property and they rented this farmhouse, which like I said is where Henry Clay was born, and my parents rented it, and then they bought the house at 201 Racecourse Street, right down from the old firehouse and rescue squad, and
a block off the tracks, right?
A block off the tracks. Mm-hmm. Yep. So and I know you're going to say you were another block off the tracks, but I mean, yeah, I think that was certainly one of my first memories was even a block off, just getting used to the trains going through.
It's weird.
I could hear theirs from my house.
Yeah.
And I was
probably
several blocks.
I was going to say probably 5 blocks.
I was across the creek.
Yeah, that's right.
That's how we explain our neighborhood. That's the dividing line of our neighborhood.
Yeah, you guys were kind of the newfangled neighborhood.
Yeah. We were the tough neighborhood.
You were the dividing line of the northwest section.
We'll get to the neighborhoods, but to that point, Duke was across the creek. Rob and I basically grew up catty-cornered. Exterior corners. Yeah,
opposite corners of the block that we were on. So, but so I mean, that grew to. I would have friends over to spend the night, and they would wake up in the middle of the night and ask me the next morning if I heard the train coming through, and at that point I would say no because I'd gotten used to it.
Yeah, so, right.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just overall, I had a incredible childhood growing up in Ashland. I mean, I had. You were on the opposite corner. We had Lee on one corner.
Do we want to refer to Lee by his nickname?
Which one?
Yeah, he's got several, but we can go with Symptoms.
Yeah, I was thinking Symptoms.
Yeah.
Yes.
And Ran and Ted DePriest on 3 doors down from me, and so and then eventually we crossed the creek, as mentioned, and we had Duke and Pee Wee and Co. and So I was very lucky. I think you would probably agree with me with your sister. Girls in our neighborhood didn't exist.
Our sisters were the only two.
Yeah. And then and
on our side of the creek, I should be clear.
Well, same with us.
Well,
too.
the closest next
all
one was
guys. Yeah.
The closest next one was Susan Watson. The Cox girls were too old. They were older than than mine at least. So she wasn't gonna hang out with them, but. So I was very lucky in that respect that I had a bunch of guys my age, and I still say to this day the luckiest thing I have in my life besides my family, and you guys are 2 examples, is I still hang out with the same guys I hung out with when I was 6 years old.
It's cool and weird.
That is awesome.
I mean, I think it's a rarity.
It is.
It does have a little bit of weirdness to it, but mostly I think it's just a blessing. So that we've maintained these friendships over all these years, and I mean, we're approaching 50 years of knowing each other, which kind of blows my mind.
It's a really long time.
It is a really long time.
And it makes us not young.
That's true too. We won't talk about that.
I was going to say, some of us may not have a full head of hair. Some of us have gray hairs, and some of us have both going on.
Yeah, there you go. So.
All right, cool. Duke, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing. I mean, great place to grow up. All the friends that we made, and so I had two older sisters, 10 and 14 years older than me, right? So I was basically growing up as an only child. And
because they were out of the house when you were
pretty much.
Kid, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they were off to college when, I don't know, I guess I was, 4 years old, or no, older than that, 6.
Yeah.
Whatever. But anyway, just, all the guys on the street, Coe, Pee-wee, Dan, Tim, Jimmy.
Tim. I forgot about Tim.
And his sister was like the only girl in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
Kim.
The only girl around our age.
Pretty much, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Dan had an older sister?
Dan had an older sister, yeah.
Yeah. But she was older.
Mm-hmm.
She was not
Coe had sisters too, but they were like my sisters, much older.
Right, exactly. And the other thing I remember about growing up in Ashland, whether it was Duke, your neighborhood, or Rob, our neighborhood, was you just walked across backyards like it was nothing. Nobody cared.
Oh, yeah.
Nobody cared. But these days, and maybe this has been true for a while now, there are fences up everywhere.
I agree.
But
back then, there were no fences separating yards back then.
Yeah, so there were 2 times. Rob and I used to go to the DePriest house and backyard, and we played basketball, wiffle ball, Ghost in the Graveyard, all that kind of stuff. It was awesome games. And there were 2 times that either I got in trouble or my sister would be with me occasionally, and she would get us in trouble. And the only reaction we had when we did something that hurt one of the DePriest boys was to just start running towards our house, and we'd cross 3 backyards, and then go another half block, and we were home.
That's right. Yep.
Of course, we thought we weren't going to get in trouble, but then I remembered that Ran and Tad could talk and explain what happened. Yeah,
and then a phone call was made.
Yes,
on a landline at that point, though,
because cell phones weren't even.
When you heard that phone ring, you were like, "Oh boy, here we go."
And if you hear one of those phones today, it scares you. They're loud. Mm-hmm. Right? It's metal on metal ringing sound. It's crazy. Yep. The other thing I remember, and this is sometimes how I got called home. I know Dan Metcalf had this too. The bell would ring, and that meant you better get your rear end home pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you would hear bells throughout town trying to get the kids to come home and eat dinner.
Yeah, again, I grew up with 201 race course, and we had to take that house down, and then we sold the property. And now somebody else built something, but I have the bell from my back porch that Biz would ring when it was time for me to come home.
Cool.
And just you said it came from one house,
but you knew where it came from. You knew where it came from.
You knew where, because they were all different. But also, no matter what house it came from, you knew it was time to stop what you were doing. And everybody was it was time to go home, go eat, or do whatever.
Yeah, because you had great freedom.
Yeah, that pretty much broke things up. Yeah, when the bell rang.
You had great freedom until the bell rang, and then hey, if you want to continue enjoying that freedom, you need to answer the bell.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, those are fun memories. You know who was the most reliable bell responder was Dan.
Yeah,
every time.
Yeah, he would take off. We'd be right. We'd be playing basketball for 3 hours. It's 102 to 102.
Right.
Next shot wins. The bell rings. Gotta go. See you.
where the rest of us would be like, all right, we'll do one more play, then I gotta go.
He could be dribbling the ball, getting ready to go for a layup, drop the ball, go. He's gone.
All right, so Rob, do you remember how you and I met? Because you were 6, I was 5.
Yeah.
And we weren't in school together, right? I guess to level set, you went to collegiate K through 12. Yep. I went to Hanover County Public Schools, really Ashland Public Schools, kindergarten through 7th grade, and then I went to St. Christopher 8th through 12th, and then Duke's Hanover County K through 12. But we've stayed connected despite the fact that we went to different schools.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I don't have a direct memory, but I know that Larry and Brenda were they were good friends with Biz and Fred, and so I'm sure that's kind of how it started. We just started meeting everybody in the neighborhood as soon as we moved in, and we moved in September of '73, and just quickly acclimated, and everybody made us feel welcome, from folks like you guys and the DePriest who had kids our age to the Piccolos who had kids that were older, but Pick and Ellie, the 4th of July celebration we always had. And
talk about that a little bit. That was an awesome time. I look forward to that every year.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, I think Ashland still to this day to a degree does a good job of really celebrating holidays, and the 4th of July, and now the big parade and everything. But the 4th of July, when we were growing up in our neighborhood, I mean, it was Piccanelli's, 4th of July, and they had a huge backyard.
It was a second lot, really, I think.
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, their yard still is. I mean, it's half of West Francis. I mean, and goes a middle into the block as well. So huge backyard.
It was a perfect baseball field.
Yes,
or wiffle ball field.
Yes, exactly. It was set up that way, and we would play wiffle ball. We would have other games. Of course, everybody. It was a potluck. I mean, they would do a lot, but I mean, it was potluck, and I mean, everybody knew them. I mean, Pick was the pharmacist, for such a long time, and so yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that's something I look forward to every single summer, and it was a great time and great, just a great community, bringing our block and probably a little bit outstretched, together.
Were people from the other side of the creek invited? I don't remember that.
I'm not
sure. I'm pretty sure we made a point not to invite people from the other side of the creek.
Probably where we drew the line.
So. Well, the name of the creek is Stony Run.
Yes.
And it ran behind my house, and it ran, maybe one house over from you? No, it wasn't one house over when we were kids, because there was nothing between your house.
Yeah, there was not a house there at the time.
Yeah, so that river.
It was part of our football field.
Yeah.
Well, it was.
It wasn't far.
Yeah.
That creek ran behind our place and ran behind your place. It's hilarious.
Yep.
All right, how did you and I meet? You and I were in kindergarten together, right?
Yep. I'm pretty sure we met the first day of school and you took my lunch money. That's how I remember it.
How did lunch money work back then?
I don't remember. You had like a quarter in your pocket.
I was going to say you had 30 cents or something, and that bought you lunch. Mm-hmm. And you and I went to Henry Clay together. We walked. We walked to school.
Yeah, I think it was kindergarten. I think.
Yeah. So you and I were probably in classes off and on.
I remember being like pretty much all through elementary, like all through until you left in 7th grade, pretty much.
Were we in the smart kid classes?
I don't know. Is that?
I think people that know us would say that there's no way you two were in the smart kid classes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we get a lot of denials on that. But.
So, what were your memories of Henry Clay Elementary?
I don't know. It was mostly pretty good, actually.
Did you get in trouble ever?
No, I was a good kid. Yeah, I was definitely. I never got in trouble.
Do you remember Eddie Glave?
Yes, I do. Yep.
Can I tell a quick Rich, Eddie, and me story?
Please.
Yeah. So Mrs. Unger was our teacher, and I think she's still around. She smoked, and she would go out for a smoke break however often she went out, and she'd be gone for 5 minutes. And we knew exactly how long she'd go out because we got used to the cadence. And she always left what I would call a tattletale or a room monitor.
It was not me.
It was not you. I don't remember who it was. I have some recollections of who it might be, but I won't name who it was. And it was very stereotypical, a lot of pink and dresses for the girls' corner for playtime, and a lot of wooden blocks and that sort of thing for the boys.
Yep.
And so Eddie, Rich, and I immediately upon Unger leaving, because we had hatched this plan at lunchtime or something, jumped up, immediately put pink dresses on, and start throwing wooden blocks at the rest of the class.
Oh, wow.
And we got the pink dresses off, and I think the wooden blocks were still kind of out. We didn't clean those up, but then we were back in our seats before Mrs. Unger came back in, and we immediately were tattling right away.
Yeah, he got called out quickly.
Like literally,
I don't remember that.
The young lady is pointing at us.
Yeah,
it's those three.
Oh my!
Needless to say, that was one.
I'm pretty sure she could have figured that out anyway without the tattletale.
Probably. I'm sure she had some good guesses going. Oh man!
I thought you meant the girls were just in pink dresses, but you mean there was pink dresses where they could dress up stuff.
There was dress up like dolls, and then dressing up yourself. Kind of
love
thing.
it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this was 1974, 75.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. How did you two meet?
Just I don't know, like just through the neighborhood, like when you guys crossed the creek. I think that was probably the first time.
I mean, I probably followed you over. I mean, I probably knew you at that point. Probably followed you over because you said we were talking pre-show. You used to go over there, so I think that was probably it.
I knew Duke and Pee Wee.
Yeah,
and Pee Wee
from kindergarten. Yeah. So.
And I thought Pee Wee was hilarious. So
Pee Wee is hilarious.
Well, and here's the fun question. We always went over to their neighborhood. They never came over to our neighborhood. Why is that?
Because our neighborhood was awesome.
No, all right, well, let's dive into that. Why was it so much better than our neighborhood? Because we had some good aspects to our part of town.
Yeah, I think we did. I think I was. don't know. One thing that just comes to mind, it was kind of mentioned earlier. I think they had a little more area over there.
They did have more open area.
We had like the nice size football field. And,
Your front yard, Coco's side thing, whatever that was.
Coco's house was the wiffle ball field.
Right. Well, so was yours.
At the time.
Yeah, when we were a lot younger.
And when we got older, my house
became yours,
the football field.
And I mean, of course, we can get into this later. But of course, when we got a little older and started playing midnight football,
midnight football! Yes,
we did.
It's the dumbest game ever.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
We did that on the Little League field.
Yeah, we had to go to the Little League field for that. There were too many trees in my yard for that.
We're not going to be perfectly chronological. Now that you brought up midnight football, can you describe midnight football for our listeners?
I mean, I have a few memories. I mean, so essentially, midnight football. I think we did play actually at midnight a few times, but it was mainly football in the dark,
like completely dark.
Yeah,
this is not
dark.
dusk.
Yeah,
this is like you can't see 10 feet.
Yeah, and again, this is the mid-late 70s. I mean, there's no Musco lights that are lighting up the.
There's no artificial light.
There's no street lights that can give us a tiny bit of light. It was just totally dark.
Yeah,
the moon was the only light we had.
Yeah, I mean,
if it was out.
The football field at that time. I mean. There was nothing. If you're on north south Sneed, I mean there was nothing there. To do anything. You had the church and everything out to 54. The closest lights you might have would have been Hanover and Henry Clay or the War Memorial.
And those weren't on typically.
No, and they were 150 yards from where we were playing. We were playing in the middle of the field. So you called it. I mean it was pitch black, which allowed for a lot of interesting plays to be made.
Did you have to pass or could you run?
If it was a full moon, you might be able to pass.
Yeah,
I remember we were passing.
You might be able to see the ball.
I think you could pass, but I don't think it was done a lot. Of course, the favorite plays that I always remember were the kickoffs. And I remember, there'd be 4 or 5 people on each team.
Right.
And you'd all get in a circle. And the ball would go up somebody's shirt.
And invariably, the kickoff team is tackling everybody else. The other team, you have no idea.
It was pretty much man-to-man football. Like you just picked a guy and tackled him, whether he had the ball or not.
Well, when you say kickoff, too, like some games we played, and when we say kickoff, we were throwing it usually. And then the receiving team couldn't see the ball a lot of the time, and dudes would get hit in the chest or the face.
Looking up, and then the ball would land like 30 yards to your right, and everybody's scrambling over to get it.
To where it was landing to actually figure out where it was so you could go get it.
Because you might get a really high kickoff, and you have to wait for it, or you might get one drilled into your chest.
Yeah. Right, you were anxious every time, and that's exactly right.
You never know how the ball is coming.
We throw 3 in a row straight up in the air. The fourth one, we're trying to knock somebody's head off.
Right, yeah. So that's I remember. I mean, I was going to digress for a second, but I'll come back.
No, digress. Go ahead. It's all good.
Well,
Please digress.
I think we've explained midnight football. It's basically a bunch of kids playing in the dark.
Basically tackle each other.
And I think that's a good point. This was no two-hand touch either. It
was tackle.
We were full on tackle, and again, like a lot of things that happened in the 70s and early 80s, where you see all the memes now and everything. We survived, So, anyway,
somehow,
you just reminded me when you said the 3 up high and then the bean. I think it was you, Paul Gilman, that actually taught me one thing about snowball fights that I'll never forget, which is you have a 2-on-2 or more, but you take 2 people and one of them lobs it so that it gets the attention of the person on the other side.
I call it an attention getter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And everybody looks up.
The second person, as the guy's going like this, look up in the sky. The other guy goes, "Wing!"
I can't tell you how many times it works, and it made me so happy. When it worked.
That just came to mind when you said the.
We were doing the same thing at midnight football. Then.
Yes, correct. Yeah, exactly. Same strategy.
So all's fair in snowball fights, right? Like that's not considered.
Absolutely
immoral.
No, or cheating. You're not cheating. No, of course not.
That's good That's good war strategy.
Mm-hmm. Right. I agree. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Let's name some people that we played midnight football with. Was Co out there?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
Pee Wee was out there.
Co, Pee Wee.
I think the younger guys, like remember all those guys that were 2 years younger than Duke and me? And they were all tiny.
Mike and
Mike Hall,
Chris,
Grayson Lane, Gray Lane.
No, John Lane. John Lane.
Hutch was probably out there.
Hutch probably played.
He might have been out there, yeah.
Did we ever have Jimmy? out there?
I'm sure
Pretty
Jimmy
sure,
played
yeah.
some.
Well, Jimmy was only.
Jimmy and Co probably
he was
were out
through
doing something else though while we were playing football.
Yeah, he was only 3 doors down from the Vikings field. So you cut through the bamboo and he's 3 houses down.
Yeah,
right?
he's right there.
Yeah, I had the sense that when I was like 10, Jimmy was 17.
Right.
Even though he was only 2 years old.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So there are lots of fun stories.
Midnight football.
Yeah, midnight football's awesome.
We should do that again, like in our 50s, and see what happens.
Except no tackle.
I was going to say, dude, if we played midnight football like we did, what I just said about us all surviving will not occur because we will all be walking away.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd be out of work.
Maybe
for a couple
crawling
weeks.
away.
That
Yeah.
game will last all of 5 minutes.
Yes.
We play one-hand touch, and that would probably scare me.
Yes, right.
Yeah. All right. So we mentioned wiffle ball at Co's house. Can you describe the field, Duke? Co's wiffle ball
Yeah.
field.
His backyard is pretty narrow. There were trees everywhere, but the biggest feature is the garden. So if you're a right-handed batter, the garden's like, say, the left field line, basically.
Well, and part of left field, and
Yeah,
part of
it
where
was
the third baseman would
really,
stand.
it was like almost right at you. Like you had to like hit it straight. Like any kind of pull,
You had to go over the garden.
Yeah, and you could hit it over the garden too, because there was a strip of grass behind the garden, between the garden and the house.
You felt awesome if you put it.
So
in
if
that
you could
strip.
hit it over, yeah, and whatever you hit, like if you just nicked like the leaf of a corn stalk,
was an out.
that's an out.
Because Co's dad was not happy that we
And
were nicking up his corn
Half
stalks.
time he'd be out in the garden like yelling at us.
All right, so that was kind of like
So that's one of the features. Yeah. There was a bird bath behind the pitcher's mound.
right.
So you couldn't if it was to pop up over your head and you turned, you might knock the bird bath over.
You had
and
to be- you had to
then
be
Co's
mindful.
mom would get mad at you for that. So you always potentially getting in trouble on the wiffle ball field.
Yeah, and then the other side, it was like a row of trees.
Yeah, a bunch of trees on the right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so,
And if you hit it on Co's house, that was the home run.
right, and his parents were cool with
On
it.
the roof, yeah.
But they were,
Unless you and me hit it over the house.
who? I don't think anybody ever hit it over, did they?
I did once.
Must have been wind aided. Had to be.
Maybe. But it doesn't matter. It still happened.
It still did happen. So wait a minute. First base was like a tree, right? That row of
Yep.
trees, one of the trees.
You had to touch the tree for first base.
What was second base?
It was, it ended up being a dirt spot because we wore it out
yeah,
so much. But
yeah.
it started out as like I don't know, just some kind of bag or,
And then
not a sandbag, but something like that.
and because the garden was so
Yeah, and-
intrusive on the
yeah.
field, it was basically a straight shot.
yeah,
from
it was
second
almost
to
a straight,
home.
almost a straight line from second to third.
But you could be at third. There technically was a third base.
There wasn't, you almost had to stand in the garden at third base, and then you really got in trouble.
Right. And if you did that, you were definitely looking for Mr. Pollard. You weren't
Yeah.
worried about.
And then eventually we decided to
teammate.
stop running, and we just well, I guess that was more at my house though. When we had,
it was definitely at your house.
it was if you hit it a certain place, that's a double. So there was no more running.
Is your fondest memory at Coco's supposedly hitting it over the house?
Yeah,
Was I there for that? I don't remember that.
you were probably the one that was pitching. So
I was not a very good wiffle ball pitcher, and it's pretty easy to be a decent wiffle ball pitcher. My fondest memory, in fact, Rob and I were talking about this beforehand. Rob's like, I'm not sure I remember a whole lot from growing up. And I'm like, I remember all kinds of stuff. I'm just pretty sure most of it's wrong. And then Duke has the best memory out of the three of us.
I definitely
I'm not
believe
sure
that.
about that.
So you'll have to get us straight if our facts are a little bit off. But my fondest memory is, and I don't
Well, I'm
remember.
glad you think that. That way I can just make stuff up.
No, it's fine.
I can pretend it's right.
That's what I've been doing this entire podcast. My memory was around the fourth or fifth inning, Mr. Pollard was in the garden tending to corn or whatever he's tending to, and he always had that pen in his pocket. And I don't remember who hit the wiffle ball, but somebody cranked a line drive into the garden. It was clearly going to be an out, but it hit Mr. Pollard right at the top of his pocket and stuck on the pin.
I remember that too.
It stuck with a pin.
I don't remember who did that.
And we all froze. We
I
didn't
guess
know what to
it's
do. Well, let's go with Pee Wee. I don't remember. It was usually Coco, Pee Wee, you, and me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the four of us.
Yeah.
So my question, being that I wasn't there, is what did Mr. Pollard do? How did he take that?
I think I blacked out after that. I was so scared.
There's a good chance that we all started running into the woods.
There you go.
Oh yeah, because you could run into the woods.
Yeah, because the woods were
Oh, yeah.
right behind home plate was the woods, and there was also like a little shed
and a basketball.
over there, and that's where that was the first basketball.
So basically, y'all would rather run through the woods to the cemetery and take the chances over there than deal with Mr. Pollard.
Well, so if you went,
That's a fair assessment.
if you went straight, if you were the batter, because you're the one who just put the ball on his pin. If you're the batter, if you run straight ahead, you're running to the house.
Oh, okay.
If you're running to the left, you're going into the garden, and now you're like in triple trouble for doing that.
Right.
Oh yeah, you
If
don't
go
want to make
to-
things worse.
If you go to the right, you're running in the open, and you just look like an idiot.
Yeah, that was like the neighbor's like open field kind of thing.
Exactly, but you're just running away because you hit a wiffle ball into a guy's bin. And if you go backwards, you're going into the woods, and that's an immediate escape, and you're not going to get in any real trouble beyond the
You at least have a hiding place back there.
Yeah, exactly.
I have no recollection ever. I might have, but I have no recollection ever playing at Coe's. My memories about playing wiffle ball are when we started playing at Duke's house.
Well, then we go from so we played at both fields for a while, but then it really just became your place in the.
Yeah.
What did we have? Did we have anything behind the plate at Coco's, or was it just open?
Oh, it was no, it was like a top of a table,
That's
like
right.
a little round table, and it was cinder blocks that were supporting it.
Yeah, that's right. And if you hit that, it was an automatic strike.
I
and somebody
I
would
can't
swing.
remember were the cinder blocks a strike too, or was it just only the tabletop?
I think we changed the rules.
I
all
can't
the time.
remember now because I remember it kind of stuck out a little bit. Like you could hit the blocks and not the table.
And that was weird for us, and we
probably just said if you hit anything, it's a strike.
Yeah, we don't care. Yeah. All right, so then we went over to your place,
my house, yep.
and we went from this weird, super narrow, everywhere you look field to a pretty open.
Until my mom planted a tree right near first base. But
How old were we when she did that?
I don't know because it wasn't. Of course, it was kind of small. When we first started playing there, but eventually, I think it's giant now.
Well, I remember. Yeah, there was a tree.
By the time we got into high school, it was it was an obstruction. Like you couldn't hit a ball to right field, basically.
Yeah, and you couldn't hit anything.
In left field, there was another tree. Like third base
Huge
was a tree.
It was huge when we were kids.
That was pretty. It was pretty wide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always seem to remember.
So you almost had to hit it at the middle.
You almost had to hit it straight.
Yep.
And then of course that's like I definitely. I mean, we all did it. I don't know if I ever did it because I didn't have any power, but I definitely remember Rich going. I'm going for the lattice, because the people had the lattice around their little garden thing across the street.
Yeah, because the home run. Yeah, because the road was the outfield.
Yes,
Beverly Road was our outfield.
Yeah, and if you hit it over the road,
if you hit it over the road into the neighbor's yard, it was a home run.
Right.
Yes.
But they had like a kind of a wide driveway. So if you hit it straight to center field, it was like a lot farther. Than
It was in play.
Yeah, and then they had the driveway went up to the garage like in right center. So you couldn't hit a home run in right center.
right. You wanted to be a righty,
Yeah.
and hit it to center.
And eventually we called that a triple when we stopped running. But
we were so old. We were 15 when we stopped
I know,
running.
yeah.
we just got smarter. That's all.
And what was the backstop? Was your fence?
It was a fence, yeah.
And it was one of those fences that had its vertical post, and then connected by a couple of horizontal posts. And then it had wire.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And then we just put like a broomstick or something for the other. Like there was one post and
That's
then a
right.
broomstick.
And then if you put it in that rectangle, it was a strike.
And it was like it was like three. I think it was the top, the middle, and the bottom post.
I think it was the whole thing, right?
Yeah, I think we just did the middle down was a strike.
Okay.
I believe so.
I think.
Yeah, and you're going to disagree with this, but the best
Probably.
pitcher was Pee Wee, in my opinion.
Maybe.
He had a really nice looping everything. He could do.
He was the
looping
only
weird
lefty,
stuff.
too.
Right.
Yeah, I think that was his thing. So, I think I got yelled at. I think that's where I got my Nitro nickname, is because I think I threw it a little too fast most of the time.
Well, yeah, and then eventually we just started because you normally just throw it like medium speed, right? And
Right.
It's on your honor, kind of.
Well, we
But
were
when the game was
trying
close,
to.
you started cranking it up a little bit,
Well, and then we just went.
and
to
then we just
full-time
started
crank.
just throw as hard as you want.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Then we were like, okay, we're gonna. Do you guys remember when we came up with the dream about it was some wiffle ball tournament where a guy had actually built
Oh yeah, I remember that, like a Fenway Park kind
he
of
built
thing.
a Fenway
Yeah.
Park somewhere, and we actually talked about going to Massachusetts or something like that.
And building our own field somewhere.
No, like going and playing that tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's.
we-
I mean,
we
and
would
I
have
think
dominated.
that's-
We would have been competitive.
We would have dominated.
And they're still doing that. I mean, there's. I don't know if you guys. That's been on. They show that on TikTok or some of these.
Oh, yeah.
Social
Oh,
media.
cool.
It's really really freaking cool to watch.
And it's the same old wiffle ball too.
It's the same old wiffle ball,
Yeah.
same old bat, and you talk about doing anything and everything when you're pitching. I mean, those guys go nuts, and I mean, they're 10-foot curves, 45 miles per hour from 25 feet away.
Yeah, they're not
I
far
mean,
away. Yeah.
No, so but it's really neat. But yeah, that just reminded me when y'all said we got to the point where we didn't have any speed limits anymore. We just did whatever. But
Yeah. And speaking of Pee Wee, remember the name of his pitch? The cut the grass pitch.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's why Pee
he
Wee
would literally throw it like 2 inches off the ground.
That's why he was the best
and it
pitcher.
wouldn't it wouldn't sink to hit the ground, and it wouldn't go up. It would just stay that low.
Or
you couldn't do anything with
or
it.
it would rise a little bit at the end.
Maybe a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that pitch plus like 12 others he had.
Yep.
I definitely remember him having a freaking 6-foot break curveball thing too. I mean, he could make that thing move like crazy.
Well, he could do that with a baseball too.
Yeah.
It's a lot easier, I guess, with well, of course it is with a wiffle ball.
Except when you're playing in 13-year-old All-Star League. All-Star game. Who was it? It was Tuckahoe? Sorry, this is not.
Was it Pee Wee?
No, we're fine. We're fine. We tell that story. You want to tell it?
Because I wasn't there. I was a year behind y'all.
We get,
but I remember the story.
Pee Wee pitched to Craig Scott.
yes.
Yeah, I figured it feels like I was there because I've heard it so often. But
This doesn't make me look great, but I'll tell the story anyway. So we're 13. It's all stars. Ashland usually would lose the first game in all stars, or we'd win one and then lose one, and then we were out. And we're playing another team. There was a buzz about their big hitter. I guess we're 7th, 8th grade, something like that at the time. And
I think y'all were 13. Yeah.
yeah, Pee Wee was a good pitcher. I mean, he didn't overpower anybody, but he had decent control, and he had a couple of nice pitches. And I was catching, and this dude came up the first time at bat, and we'd never seen him hit, and he hit a line drive perfectly up the middle, almost killed Pee Wee. Almost killed him. And he hit it so hard that the next time he came up, the coach called timeout. He comes to talk to Pee Wee and me, and he says, intentionally walk him. And I've watched him hit the ball, and I had the perfect view of him hitting that ball. And if I was more mature at the time, I'd be like, of course we're going to intentionally walk him, because I don't want Pee Wee to get hurt.
Or embarrassed.
The coach walks away, and I follow Pee Wee to the mound. I said, pitch to him. But don't pitch to him. Don't throw strikes.
Don't groove it. But.
Don't throw a strike, but be around the plate. I'm not going to – I might stand up, but then I'm going to come back down. Whatever I did, Pee Wee he threw a little too close to the plate. And this dude hit the ball so hard, and it's such a perfect angle. I couldn't contemplate what had happened right away. There was a giant oak tree in center field, and this is a full, like the base paths are normal, like adult length. The field's basically an adult field. And this guy's 13 years old, hit it over the oak tree in center field. Yeah. Now, the next 2 or 3 times he came up, we intentionally walked him, which happened to the guy all the time. But that was, I feel bad. I apologize, Pee Wee, if you listen to this.
That is your fault.
Oh, it's entirely my fault.
What did the coach say when y'all came in?
I'm pretty sure he expressed a lot of displeasure with Pee Wee, and then I'm pretty sure.
I'm sure Paul blames it on Pee Wee.
I
told him to walk him, but he just
said,
threw
Pee
it
Wee,
down the middle.
I don't know what he was thinking. I clearly told him to throw it to me high and outside. Now, I don't remember what I said. I don't know if I copped to it or not. It's 50-50 with me. You can never tell.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, let's talk about playing with the DePriest boys. All the things we did with the DePriest boys.
Yeah, so Rand and Ted DePriest. So Rand was, I was 1 year than you. Then Rand was another year
In school, yeah.
School-wise, and then
Tad was 5 years behind you, 4 behind me.
Correct. Yeah. So, I mean, you kind of mentioned it earlier. I mean, they had a nice little backyard. We played. It was a small, but we had a very good small wiffle ball field. They had a basketball goal eventually, which you talk about, making a second base a dirt spot. We eventually made that court dirt.
It was basically a big dirt court, just like Coco's was.
That's how Coco's was.
Yeah.
So, I think Rob DePriest gave up trying to go grass there after a couple times. You mentioned Ghost in the Graveyard, which is.
Can you describe Ghost in the Graveyard for folks, Rob? I'm not sure I remember.
I'm not sure I either. I think there was. I mean, basically, the area, the play area of the game was called a graveyard, and
it was basically their property.
Yeah, and it was their house. I don't think we went into Suzanne's yard or into the other side.
John, wasn't it John on the other side?
I think it was John at that point. Yeah, for most of the time. So I think it was everybody would go hide except for one. So we were all the ghosts who went to hide, I believe.
Or was it the opposite? Was there one ghost, and then everybody was trying to get around the house, so basically do a circle around the house?
Before the one caught them.
Caught
Yeah,
them. So
that's
if you
right.
made it around,
That is
you,
right,
you
yeah.
felt good about yourself because the ghost didn't get you.
Yes, correct. Yeah. So
Because sometimes
That
you would go
sounds
out.
awesome.
It was a fun game. So the ghost would reveal itself going after one kid, and if you were near that kid, you just took off.
Yeah, right.
While he
It
was
was-
going after that first kid.
yes, exactly. And they had a fair amount of small trees or
And
bushes
bushes
up against
yeah.
the house and stuff. So you had some good hiding spots and
One move was to just run as fast as you could, just hoping the ghost wouldn't pop out of a bush in time.
Yes.
Another move was to always be second or third, and then my favorite move was to just slow roll the whole thing. Everybody would forget you hadn't gone
just-
around,
just
and
go-
then you just walk around.
right. Yep. I agree.
Has anybody seen Rob?
Yeah.
Well, maybe he went home. I don't
like
know.
10 minutes ago. So
That's a good strategy.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the thing I remember about, besides everything you just said about playing at the priest, it was usually you and Tad versus randomly, the oldest and the youngest versus the two guys in the middle. And Tad kept up with us. It was weird. He was so much younger than us, but he kept up with us.
Yeah, well, and I will say I think that is the way it started. But then eventually, my recollection is then it became. I thought a lot of times it was you and Tad, because you were the better athlete of the three older of us.
Right.
And then
I mean, I'll give you that.
yes,
I think
I'm
that's
sure
a
you will.
questionable statement.
We were
And
we were
then-
young, Dick. We were very young.
And then you mentioned it. I mean, of course, Tad became a hell of an athlete, and he very easily, we might have been 11 or 12, and he was 7 or 8 or whatever. I mean, he kept up with us.
You didn't know.
Yeah,
No,
he was a real
yeah.
good athlete for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and Tad was a big kid too. So I mean, if anybody just walked up, I mean, like they would have looked at Rand or I, and I bet you a couple of them would have said, "That kid Tad is older than those two,"
Yeah.
because of his size, and then I mean, I know I was. I'm pretty sure Rand was. I mean, we were just spindly, thin kids.
Well, and Tad was picking up things from older kids that
Right,
made him probably
true.
Yeah,
seem older
always
too.
playing
Yeah.
with the older kids. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
makes you better
Yeah.
for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I remember being, so Tad's no longer with us, which is a whole nother story, but just an incredible kid, incredible young man. And
He was funny too.
oh man,
He was
he's
funny.
so humorous and just a great sense of humor. And I remember Rob DePriest, this was, so we got all the Little League fields, and I remember this was the field closest to Stony Creek, that little small one that's there. And
yeah.
it was, I don't think it was T-ball. I think it was like the
It
first
was,
year.
it was kid.
It was
coach
when
pitch.
the coach
first year,
would pitch
yeah,
to
it
you.
was
was
first
coach
year
pitch.
coach
It
pitch.
was like six,
Like 6-year-olds.
6 and 7 year olds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and somehow I became a older kid, assistant coach, for the Red Sox, and I mean Tad would, if he came up 4 times, I mean 3 of them would be over that fence.
By like 30 feet.
Probably
yeah,
not a lot.
Yeah, they were
Craig
they
Scott
were
has.
they were no doubters. Yeah, they were no doubters. So, but anyway, yeah, I'll give us all credit that he became the athlete he was because he learned from all the older kids. No, I'm just kidding.
We all,
But-
no, we all had a little influence, I'm sure.
yeah,
But yeah.
yep.
He was mostly born with that
Yeah.
talent.
Oh yeah, he definitely had the talent. So, but anyway, so yeah, it was. I mean, you mentioned I didn't really think about that. That's a good point. The Duke and that crew rarely came to our side, but we kind of had our own thing, and of course, we would have Buffy and Sarah would come and play every once in a while, especially wiffle ball and things like that. I didn't play basketball,
Right.
But I remember the girls playing Ghost in the Graveyard with us
Absolutely.
a couple times.
Sure.
And, yeah. So
It's a kid favorite.
Lee was over there for that a little bit. So yeah. Anyway, but it was the DePriest, a great family, and so yeah, that was a lot of fun back then.
All right, I'll tell the 2 quick stories that the Gilman kids got in trouble for.
Okay.
One, we were playing croquet. I think it was Rand. I don't know who the teams were, but Rand and my sister were on opposite teams, and my sister's team was about to win. I don't know if she was with Tad or with me, and Rand hit some incredible shot from like 20-some feet out, and I'd never seen my sister do anything like this. She took, and Duke and some others call her Hurricane Buffy. Duke, I can't tell you how crazy this is. So much crazier than the Monopoly thing she
Oh
did.
yeah, big time.
She took the it was in slow motion for me because I'm watching her because she's the one that's really close to that final post, And it was kind of in slow motion, and it was surreal for me to watch it. And she just slowly kind of and deliberately raises up the croquet mallet and whacks Rand on the top of the head. And Rand was kind of a towhead, like super blonde hair, and it just started turning red pretty quickly. And I'm like, hey, we got to get out of here.
Yeah, run.
And we ran back home.
Don't call for help.
Not get help, but run away.
Yeah, he's got his brother's there. He'll take care of it. And the other time, we got in trouble, and we may not have run on this one. I may have just stayed and took my lumps. Tad was pitching, I was hitting, and I hit a line drive back up the middle with a wiffle ball. It hit him square in the nose, and just his nose exploded with blood. I got in a lot of trouble for that, and I just looked at his mom, and I'm like, we're just playing wiffle ball.
Yeah. I think I was there for that one. I think I seem to remember that.
Yeah, those were my two.
One of the few times you ever hit the ball hard. So
yeah, it was maybe the only time. Yeah.
Stop.
Those are fun. Those are fun times. All right, I'm gonna go get a beer. Duke, if you want a beer, I'll get you one.
I'm good.
But you'll give me time to get a beer by talking about your New Year's Eve parties.
Oh boy, okay.
And you can talk about the one that I was at, because I was invited to the last one.
Yeah, the first and last.
Was
one
that the first and last
for you? Yes.
Yeah, for me. Yeah.
It definitely wasn't the first.
It wasn't my fault.
Well,
that being the last.
Yeah. All right.
Well,
I'll give you that.
Maybe a little bit.
I will give you that. This one was not your fault.
All right. Who was there?
All right. Well, let me start just go back up time a little bit. So, our house was always like the New Year's Eve party house for like my whole family. So like all my aunts and uncles there, because all my cousins would come over for New Year's Eve, and I guess they were all going out to New Year's Eve parties or whatever. So it's me and like people that are like at least 6 or 7 years older than me, and older than that. And I remember they had this game called Swamp Monster.
Oh my!
So we would go down. We had a basement in our house that was unfinished. It was basically just a bunch of junk down there. And this particular time, Co was over there spending the night with me. So at least I had a buddy this time. So the game was all the older cousins go and hide in the basement in the dark. Sounds kind of like your Ghost in the Graveyard.
Right.
So they all hide. Co and me walk down the stairs and just walk around in the dark until they decide to jump out and beat us up.
Oh my!
That was small.
Wait a minute. By beat you up, like they're like throwing forearms.
They would just grab us and like put it, take us to the ground and like kind of punch us a little bit.
Okay.
But
Not rough you up too bad.
not too bad, but it was scary.
What was the name of the game?
Swamp Monster. If Co was here, he would probably be shivering right now. It was scary. Like you just walk around, you never know when they're going to come out and attack.
I don't think I'm playing that game.
I would never play it anymore. I didn't have any choice.
I'm surprised you hadn't repressed those memories. That's probably what Co's done.
Yeah, I think maybe one time one of my cousins would let me hide with them. But
Oh, nice.
but anyway, so that was how New Year's Eve parties used to be. And then eventually they all went and did their own thing, and then I had all my buddies over. So this one,
There were 8 of us, I think, right?
yeah, probably.
Can we name all 8?
Let's try.
Well, on the older end of the road, because we kind of laid out the sleeping bags in your parents' living room,
Yeah.
oldest to youngest.
Oh, it's the youngest.
And it was
Was that how it ended up? Yeah,
was-
I think it might have been.
it was Jimmy,
Definitely Jimmy.
on one end,
Jimmy and Co.
and Tim.
Yeah.
What was Tim's last name?
Kashevsky.
Kashevsky.
He was the youngest.
Yeah, he was on the other end.
Yep.
Do you want to try to name them?
And all right, so there was Tim, and then Dan was next, I think.
Yes, I think that's right.
Then me. Then probably
Was it Rich, or was it me? Because
is Pee Wee, Rich, and you?
yeah, we were the 3 in the middle, and then it was Coco
and then
Jimmy.
Co and Jimmy. Was that it? I think that might.
I think that was it.
That's 8.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah.
that was it. Yeah, and Tim was like what, 2 years younger than you,
Yeah, he was 2 years
and
younger.
you're 2.5, 3 years younger than Jimmy. So it was a pretty good.
It
age
ranged
range.
for like I think I might have been 11 or 12.
Okay.
So yeah, ages like from 9 to like 15 or whatever.
Yeah, and Jimmy was 14 or 15, acting like he was 20.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
All right, so,
So,
we were all late. We did the. I can't. There was a lot that happened.
A lot of we got. I mean, before we even went to bed, we got in trouble twice.
I remember
so-
one of them. One of them was really scary. What was the other one?
Yeah, well, one of them was I think Pee Wee threw firecrackers into the fireplace. Because another tradition, because we always had a gigantic, like my mom's living room is really tall, so we had like
It's a big room,
yeah,
yeah.
huge, tall ceiling, so huge Christmas tree. And our tradition was we would always saw off all the limbs and cut it down and burn it in the fireplace, so we had a nice fire going. and then Pee Wee had firecrackers, threw them in the fireplace, and bam, 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 bam.
And this is your parents are in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That started it.
Not a good
that was
move.
That was the beginning of the shenanigans. It was all polite.
Yep. And
Your mom made like y'all's dining room table
huge
was
spread.
huge spread of awesome food everywhere.
Yep.
It would
All
take
kinds of
80
good stuff.
kids to eat all
All
that food.
kinds of good stuff.
Yeah, we were behaving until Pee Wee threw the firecrackers.
And then at one point, Co made us all get up and go outside, and we ran around the house going hokey, 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 hi, beepy.
I was saying that too because my dad was in tech at the time. I was rooting for Hokey High.
Yeah.
You didn't have your UVA.
We didn't really get in
yet.
trouble for that one, but that was just another memory I've got of it.
Yeah, well, we were outside and really weren't bothering them with that.
Yeah, but being outside was a problem later on that night, though.
Well, what happened after the running around the house? I don't. I just remember the trouble we got in around midnight.
We used to play bingo. My dad would always my dad's calling out numbers N43 078, and then he would go BO, and whoever won got like a quarter or something.
Right, and that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Bought you a lunch.
he
in
would always
elementary
he
school,
brought
yeah.
him a roll of quarters, and we played however many times, and everybody whoever won got a quarter.
Those were fun. All right, so we played bingo, and then
Ran outside. Yep.
and then
I think we went outside to play. Did we go outside to play football?
Probably.
I don't remember why we were outside at that time.
there was a football or two out there.
Yeah, and there were also drinks that had ice in them.
Well, so we were. Do we want to tell this story? Oh, the statute of limitations is way over.
I think we can tell.
I think we can tell the story.
It's such a famous story.
It's a really good story too. So some of us were along the house behind bushes, and we may or may not have been throwing footballs at cars that drove by.
Yeah, cars driving by, and I'm sure it was a Nerf football, right?
One was and one was not. And then there was at least one person along the road. At least one, maybe two.
Yeah.
And one of those two people took ice and threw it pretty hard, but it didn't really matter. It's ice on metal. A car came by, and it you could hear it. Everybody heard it.
We were actually on the other side of the street. I remember that.
Oh, that's
somebody
right.
had threw the ice, and I don't know why.
Oh, so it was you and it was Rich.
It was Rich. Okay.
Yeah, we can tell the story now.
Okay. Yeah.
This is
For
this-
recording.
So for clarification, this is car on Hanover Avenue or
Hanover
Beverly?
Avenue.
Okay.
Yes.
So Rich and I are across the street. Why we went over there to get the ice, I don't know. I guess
Was it snowing like a couple days before that, and that was the ice, or was it?
I think it was like ice from a drink.
Okay.
wasn't it?
I don't
There
remember.
wasn't snow on the ground, was it?
It wasn't snow on the ground, but there may have been remnants of
Well,
ice around from the
Yeah,
snow.
I guess it could have been. So yeah, we're across the street, and then that's when Rich picks up the piece of ice, and here comes a car, and he just rears back and throws it, and bam, right in the side of the door of that car.
The driver's side, right? Wasn't wasn't he going out of town?
Actually, I don't remember what
I
side
don't
it
remember
was.
either. It doesn't matter.
The only thing, speaking of blacking out when you're in trouble, that's what I did at that point. So and the guy slams on the brakes, and these guys get out of the car.
It was the guy and two women.
Wait, mate, yeah, I guess.
It was a guy and two women, and somebody started.
All I know is people got out of the car.
They got out of the car, and they left the car in the middle of the road.
Yeah, doors wide open, and they get out screaming and yelling. So Rich and I, and we're across the street.
You tell the Rich and you story, and I'll tell what happened with the other six.
Okay, so Rich and I, instead of running the opposite way, towards the other part of the neighborhood, we decided to run across the street, past them, and run with the rest of you guys who were running past my house.
So we were on the if you're facing your house on the right side, and we didn't know where we were going. We
Yeah.
just knew we wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, everybody just took off running.
And so
Y'all were long gone. Rich and me are way
you-
behind, obviously, because we started from across the street.
y'all are easily 150 feet behind us, easily.
So we're running, and I might have been a little bit faster than Rich.
If I was going to make a guess who got caught, I was going to guess Rich.
So Rich got caught by the guy.
And roughed up a little bit, or
Yeah.
yelled at, or whatever.
Yeah, he got yelled at, and of course I'm long gone at this point. So
We were all long
yeah,
gone.
and we don't. And the rest of what happened with him is just a story that I hear from Mom. So basically, the guy, I guess they take Rich back to the front door and knock on the door, and my dad answers, and the guy goes, "Your son just hit my car with a rock." And it's Rich standing there, probably shivering and crying.
Oh, I'm sure he was not happy. Yeah.
And then, so they talk it out or whatever. I remember Dad telling me, like, yeah, just bring the car back, over to, like, the tractor company, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll pay for any damage.
Yeah, all adult
so
stuff.
it ended up being, they kind of, I think, just ended up driving off. So nothing ever happened,
But we didn't know.
We didn't know. We did, at this time, we were, like, hiding in the bushes somewhere else in the neighborhood.
We were, like, 3 yards away, maybe 4 yards away. And we're like, well, we're kind of close to Pee Wee's house. Let's just go hang out at Pee Wee's house for a while.
Go to Pee Wee's house, yeah.
And so we went to Pee Wee's house, and it was Pee Wee's brother and 2 or 3 of his buddies. And I'm like, hey, we're just going to hang out here for a while if that's cool, just in the front yard. And Pee Wee's brother's like, y'all got to get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get out of here. He didn't want us to hang around. So we slowly walked around.
So we said, eventually we got to go back home.
Yeah, we can't, like, Duke's definitely got to go back home.
It's like, I got to go. I mean, we can't stay out here all night.
So I think we kind of stood away from the house. And
it took us, I don't remember how long, but it took us a little while to get back.
You went in.
Yeah, I had to go in.
And then you came back out and you're like, everybody can come back in.
We can come in now.
Jeez.
So it got, that was probably the worst it was with people outside of the people that lived in Duke's house or were there that night.
And you might think that was the end of the night.
You would think that would get every kid's attention, like, hey, we can't screw around anymore.
But it wasn't.
Can I ask one question before you go on?
Sure.
It's something you said. Did your dad claim Rich as his son?
I don't think so.
He said that's not my son.
I don't think so.
I think you need to ask your mom what happened.
Yeah. We might need to get that part of the story from her
on that finer point.
I just wondered. So.
All right, so I think it was past. Go ahead.
So I was going to say, like, I guess we kind of settled down for a little while.
Well, yeah, we all had the intent of, I think, going to sleep, except for one person.
And I don't remember, and I don't even remember, hitting, the clock hitting midnight. Like, did we ever, I guess we went outside and, had sparklers or something, but.
I think the sparklers, I don't remember the order. The sparklers happened before
I don't remember,
maybe the ice
I don't remember
thing.
if the ice was before or after midnight. I think it was before.
It might have been before, and then your mom let us do the sparklers thing, and then we came back in.
I think she was like, you can go outside and do sparklers, you get right back in the house.
Yeah, and then you guys need to go to bed. No more screwing around.
Yep. Quiet down, go to bed.
I have no idea what Coco's motive was. I don't know where Pee Wee's head was. I have an educated guess. But from me, because Pee Wee was closer to the older guys, and I guess Rich, I don't know where Rich and I were compared to Pee Wee, but we weren't far.
Yep.
But number 4 to number 8, we were trying to go to bed. 3, Pee Wee, 2, Coco, not sure where their heads were, but 1, Jimmy, had no plans on going to sleep. So Duke's mom had made this incredible spread, as we mentioned earlier. And the next thing we know, there are brownies, Rice Krispie treats, and all kinds of other stuff.
There's food flying everywhere.
Landing on the younger end of sleeping bag row.
Oh, my goodness.
And the next thing we know, we're basically all up, except for maybe a couple people, and we're all grabbing food from the table, and we're chucking it at each other. We're in the middle. We're in the middle of somebody else's house, acting
My
like
house.
and nobody's drinking. At least I didn't think anybody was drinking. We were too young back then.
No, I don't think it. No,
Completely sober.
Didn't even need to.
And then I don't know. Your mom came out and basically got us to settle down.
We got yelled at a couple times. Yeah, like quiet down, quiet down.
We had made a mess. I don't know that your mom or dad knew how bad the mess was until the next morning.
Yeah, I don't even remember the next morning.
Yeah, I don't either.
I may have been sent to my room or something. I don't know.
Well, at one point, but who knows if my memory is right here, but I swear it was like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And I may be wrong here, but I'm pretty sure Coco took a pillow and was hitting somebody so hard with that pillow. Fight. Yeah, well, I guess there were a few pillows out, but Co's busted up first. And that's back when they were old, just everything was feathers.
Yeah.
Feathers went everywhere.
Flying all over the living room.
My.
And it's now past 5 a.m., and I remember Duke's mom vacuuming up.
Actually, no, Co was the one with the vacuum.
She made Coco good.
Co turned on the vacuum because he was scared he'd get in trouble. And my mom came out going, "What are you doing? Turn on the vacuum."
We were idiots. And then, so you don't remember the next morning, but you probably figured.
The only thing I remember is I was told that we would never have another New Year's Eve party again.
That's probably the
and we didn't.
That's the right call. Or maybe the invite list had to change drastically.
There was no more. That was it.
All right, so the reason I had the idea of us getting together talking about growing up in Ashland was actually about 2 years ago. Hutch Smith suggested that somebody talk about growing up in Ashland. And so I think all three of us knew the Smith brothers pretty well. Mm-hmm. But they lived on the tracks.
They did. Yep.
Yeah, they were right on the tracks. Yeah.
Yep.
Could you imagine being their parents, the four of them?
Yeah, four boys and rambunctious. Yeah, Grayson was my age. We hung out a little bit. He and Lee still keep in touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then see, I always get Wes and Hayes mixed up. I don't know which one.
Wes and Hayes are both very creative, musically for Hayes, and Wes can apparently can draw really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But one of them works. I think his regular job. Again, I'm sorry, I forget which one. But one of them, his regular job was at the sod farm, I think, and he actually
A couple of them worked out there. Yeah.
and he lived on the tracks. He had a house on the tracks. I think they're gone from that now, but it was not quite. It was more across from the not Long Acres, the Longmires,
Yeah.
than their parents' house. But he fixed it up and stuff like that. But his son, I think, is roughly Abby and Zach and Jack's age, because I'm pretty sure one of his sons played Little League with Jack, National Little League, I think. So, and I think I coached him, but he's really good. I'm sorry again, whether it was West or Hayes, he's a really good dude. And,
they're all good.
They're all
dudes.
good.
yeah, they really are. So yeah, and their dad was the architect for the diamond, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
That's my recollection for sure.
Yeah.
And it's still there. It's still the AA team's
Yeah.
field.
Yep, the Squirrels.
All right, so let's transition into like middle school, high school kind of action. How did we spend Friday night growing up at Ashland? I didn't drink.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
I didn't either.
I didn't either. So you want to start with pre-driving?
Yeah, just we can hit that pretty quickly, and then we can get into when we're.
I actually don't even remember really.
I don't really remember either. I think we just kind of hung out at each other's
We
houses.
just
Yeah.
just hang out. Yeah.
Yeah.
We play sports with daylight.
Yep.
We play a lot of Nerf basketball.
Yep.
We watch
lot.
sports
I think we
on
just,
TV.
I think we just had we'd spend the night and just like play games or go out and play midnight football or something.
Right, or Ghost in the
And
Graveyard.
still at that point, I mean, I think, I think we were still doing a couple things in our neighborhood, but I think that for me, I think that's when I transitioned more. That I was, going over to.
You were across the creek.
I was across the creek, yeah. So it's funny when we say across the creek, I think about how we talk about the James River and being north of James or south of James. So.
Well, hold on. That creek ran, or still does run, north-south? Or is it east-west?
I think it's north south.
I think it is.
Yeah, it is north-south.
Yep.
So you were on the west side, and we were on the east side.
Yep.
Yep. But
The east side was clearly better.
I don't have a.
That's
I don't have a ton of recollection of. I mean, I guess most people repress their middle school memories anyway. But yeah, I think we just did a lot of hanging out and, again, talked about formative years, and I think that's a lot of where our relationships grew, and where we tested each other out. I remember having a yelling match with you.
A yelling match.
Most people would not be surprised that I was in a yelling match.
No, just but it was. Well, what's surprising is I was as big as that beer bottle, and you were a lot bigger, and I don't know why I was trying to.
What were we yelling?
I don't. We were just. We had a disagreement of some type, but you were actually. I have a vivid recollection. I'd say I don't remember stuff, but I have a vivid recollection. Number one, that the house behind. The house on the corner of Lee and Hanover wasn't there. That was still that open.
That was still an open field.
yard.
Yeah.
And you're walking. I think with Pee Wee, because y'all were going to Pee Wee's, you're walking on Lee Avenue towards Pee Wee's house.
Yeah.
And I'm standing, I don't know if you were even out there with me, but I had somebody around me. I remember people being around, but I'm standing I think in Duke's front yard, and we're yelling at each other.
About what? I've no recollection.
I'm not sure I remember. I mean, obviously we had some disagreement. And
It's probably over some play on the wiffle ball field.
Yeah, I'm sure it had to
basketball
be,
thing.
something stupid. And but why
We were competitive.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Paul cheated.
No, I
you
agree.
called him out on it. It's probably what happened.
Well, I got caught cheating is what happened.
No, I doubt that. But if there's one thing I did growing up, and this started over at Random Tad's, and then it continued when we would go play things across the creek. I was the scorekeeper.
Yeah.
I mean, always. And so you probably questioned my scorekeeping. No,
I'm
I'm just kidding.
No, I may have questioned something about some call that
was
whoever
probably it.
made.
I'm totally kidding, but I don't know why I remember that, but I just thought, and then I think after, I'm like, why am I picking a fight with a guy that really, really kicked my butt? So, but
He'd have to catch you first.
Well, but neither one of us would get like that. I mean, we were competitive, but we wouldn't yell.
no,
typically.
we wouldn't. We would have never done that. But it was funny. But I mean, again, I think, again, I talk about how I feel so lucky. I think it's just, I think it's those times where, we just played a bunch of stuff together. We hung out. We ate. You just talked about Maxine and the spread. I mean, you talk about any of our moms.
Oh, they feed you anytime you said anything.
And just, I mean, they were just incredible, and then
they put up with so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they really did. And then, our dads were always there for us when they were around, and some of our dads, i.e. Larry, coached us in basketball and other things, and so kind of like we ended up doing, for our kids, and something. So it's so anyway, it's just I go back and I'll say it nowadays. I mean, I've been in the town the whole time. I've had with my kids and you guys have been right here, but Ashland Hanover is. I still think it's a heck of a place to raise a family, and I think that goes back to when we were being raised, and things have changed, but I still think I've been very happy with raising Chris and I raising our family here.
Yeah, because our oldest kids are all around the same age, the same year of school.
They're
all
exactly
three
the
of them.
same age. Yeah.
Yep.
And Duke, you've never left Hanover other than college, right? I've left a couple different times, but not for very long. And I've basically been in Hanover my whole life. And you, besides a couple of stints in law enforcement.
Yeah, I was gone for, I guess, 4 or 5 years when I was with Park Police. But yeah.
But something about.
Yep.
And I knew I'd always come back. I knew I'd always come back here. So I mean, I think it's been great. So
you referenced my dad coaching that basketball team. It was the Ashland Hawks. We had green uniforms.
That's
and
right.
That's back when
it was the Ashland Hawks.
It's back when basketball shorts were short shorts.
Oh yeah.
And we didn't think anything of it. Like it wasn't.
That's just how it was.
That's the way it was.
Yeah, and there's a picture of the whole team, and I can almost name everybody because Duke has a great memory. He can probably name everybody in the picture.
I would have to see the picture.
Yeah, but it was like Jeff Taylor was one of the older guys.
Yep.
And we had some tiny little guys. It's almost like
I was probably one of them.
Yeah, and
well, that year I was probably the smallest one on the team.
you were amongst the smallest, but there were a couple of really small kids, and you two were not it. But anyway, my dad is on one side, and he's got this amazing pair of sideburns, like almost mutton chops.
Yeah.
And his like burnt orange corduroy, thin corduroy pants.
Yeah.
They were awesome.
He
And
was
that's
supporting.
That's
the
a
Hokies.
classic '70s look. Yeah.
we were a good team too
Yep. We did.
back then.
That's right.
All right, and we also gravitated to sports growing up quite a bit. Obviously, we've talked about
Yeah.
wiffle ball and basketball, and midnight football, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So.
But it was a big part of all three. of our-
I just have to mention subjunction before we forget about it.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Please.
Speaking of
We
middle
should-
school,
I mean, you talk about
Yeah.
what places where we went and hung out. We were
That's
at
what-
the houses. Yeah.
that was during the day.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah.
That's that's the kind of thing Hutch was talking about. So thank you for saying
Yes,
subjunction.
we've
Go
got
ahead.
to. Yeah, I mean, we would just ride our bikes up. Subjunction is like a little sub shop right on the railroad tracks, which I think it's pretty much the Iron Horse.
It's
is
where
right
Iron
now.
Horse Restaurant is now. Yeah.
And it was like one of the first arcades that I even remember.
There was Galaga, Miss
Donkey
Pac-Man.
Kong,
yeah.
and all the
Joust.
best games.
Yeah.
I mean all
Joust
the
there.
all the
Oh my
coolest
God.
games of the '80s.
Yeah.
And we would just ride our bikes up.
Subjunction.
There would be like a row of like 20 bikes out in front of that place.
Yeah.
And we would just all go in there with our quarters and just
And quarter was a lot of money back then.
yeah.
Like how much money you gonna spend today?
Yeah.
Like I'm only spending.
You're
50
sitting there
cents
reaching,
today.
checking the sofa, pulling the cushions up, trying to grab an extra quarter you can find
right.
in there.
Subjunction.
So and nothing. And the subs were good too.
Oh, the
I
subs
was
are
gonna
great.
say they had great food too. Yeah.
yeah, that's one of my memories of like what we did as
Oh my
middle
gosh,
schoolers.
Well, so let's talk about what was around that part of town. That I mean, when you say Subjunction Iron Horse Restaurant, that is like the epicenter of Ashland.
Yep.
Because it's the railroad tracks and
Yeah.
54 intersection there. If you're facing what used to be the Subjunction, or now the Iron Horse, and you started walking to your left, there was a old school pharmacy there. What was the name of that pharmacy?
Yes.
Hughes Pharmacy?
Was it Hughes' drugstore?
Hughes' drugstore. That's
Yeah.
exactly
Oh,
what it was.
milkshakes.
Yeah, you could go get like
Yes.
homemade.
That's when you could go to
amazing
the drugstore
milkshakes.
to get the milk. You sit at the little counter and get a milkshake.
And they'd make them old school style.
Yeah.
Well, which is normal school for us back
Right.
then. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the
And talk
milkshakes
about
there.
the old milkshakes and ice cream and good food. I saw somebody put a picture of it on Facebook the other day. It was the old Mayberry ice cream store, which is
Yes.
was right across, or not store, but restaurant that was right across from the post office where Macon has that greeting building.
Yeah, now
That,
it's like-
that
now it's
Mayberry
around-
was awesome.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I had a birthday party there one time. I remember.
Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Remember they had those? What was it? I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a one of those gigantic sundae things. Like we put like 20 scoops of ice cream. In.
Yeah,
like,
but banana split or
basically
whatever. Yeah,
every
my banana-
every
the
little
banana
topping they
split
had,
was what I
every
would
flavor of
always
ice
get.
cream, every topping they had
Yeah.
into this gigantic bowl. And we had
Mayberry's
and we
was
had
awesome.
and we had
Yeah.
like 5 or 6 kids all just crowded around it, just going to town on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and across the street from Subjunction was the old Cross Brothers Grocery.
Yep.
Yep.
And then
And on the-
what was on the other side of that?
Well, I was going to say, so Cross Brothers is right there, and then there's the little driveway, and then there was a bank.
Yeah, because
Yeah, there used to be a bank
There's a
there,
teller
Yeah,
window
there's
there.
a teller window in that drive-through.
Yeah.
On the opposite corner of the building, which I'm not sure, that's changed a lot over the years. I'm not sure what's in that now. But there used to be a little, just a little corner store. Because talk about statute of limitations. That's where Rob Dole stole his first piece of bubble gum.
Oh,
I think it was a rite of passage for most boys.
Yes,
back then.
yes, it was. And I got home, and Biz took care of that real quick, and we marched ourselves right back up there, and I turned that back in. So
that's probably still on your record, I think.
it could be. So
Or should be.
Yeah.
Oh, how about
right.
the Ashland Theater too? Oh, going to the movies at
Well,
the theater.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
and
another. That's
I was
probably what we
just-
did a lot on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point.
And I
Yeah,
was
because the
just
Ashland
thinking-
Theater was open all the time
Yeah.
when we were kids.
Right.
Right.
And it was
I was
it
just
was like
thinking-
current movies at the time.
Yes,
too,
it
know?
was. I was just thinking about that, and just saying, of course, it went away for a few years. And I'm so glad that it's that it's back now, and they're doing some good things over there. But yeah, I mean, for me, I remember that's where Fred took me to see my first R-rated movie.
Dude,
Nice.
so what was the movie? Do you remember it?
48 Hours. Dick Nolte and Eddie Murphy.
Because there was some nudity in that.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yes. So my first movie, I was 10 years old. My dad Stripes, and he sees the poster, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's a military movie. I'm a military guy. Let's go watch the Stripes." He had no idea what he was getting himself into.
Right.
I don't think he knew Bill Murray was a comedian. I don't think he knew any of that.
Yeah.
And so we get in there, and I think the first nude scene was maybe showers or something.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
when
10.
the-
I haven't
when
even
the
started
lieutenant-
puberty yet.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be here right now.
But you didn't want to leave either.
No, well, I didn't want to leave. My dad, I think he froze, and so we didn't look at each other. We didn't talk to each other the rest of the night.
That's awesome.
Oh, that's good times.
Yeah, that's when that
Yeah.
dumb lieutenant was looking out the telescope at the girls in the shower, and
Yeah.
that was hilarious.
It's still my favorite movie to this day, not because of what happened when I was 10. It just
It is
right,
awesome.
movie. Yeah.
It's definitely a top tenner for me, that's for sure.
Ben Franklin, was
Oh,
it
yeah.
Five and Dime or Dime Store?
Yep, dime store.
Dime
yeah.
Store.
Yeah.
What was in that store? There's a lot of weird pewter stuff, right? Or was it something
I remember
else?
getting baseball cards there.
I
Yeah.
think there was a little,
a
I was
potpourri
gonna say-
kind
I
of thing.
was
all
gonna say,
kinds
I thought
of
it was a little bit of everything.
It was mostly like the part I saw was like the candy and the baseball cards, but
Yeah.
there's tons. That place was pretty big, wasn't it? Like it was
They
kind of
did.
long,
Yeah,
right?
I was gonna,
Yeah, candle holders and
Yeah.
like pewter bowls and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but then they had like a hard candy section, and
Mm-hmm.
rock candy and stuff we
Yeah,
used to
that's
eat when we
right.
were kids.
What was between Cross Brothers and Ben Franklin? Was it an open parking lot? I don't remember what was there.
Is that where Ben Franklin was?
It's a restaurant now. What's the name of the restaurant? It's in a building that stands alone, just to the right of the library.
Oh, trackside.
Trackside. Trackside used to be Ben Franklin.
Oh, I always remember Ben Franklin's being up at the shopping
it
center.
did. It did move.
I thought,
Okay,
yeah.
so
It
that's
did move.
that's my memory of Ben
Yeah.
Franklin.
You're talking about the Henry Clay Shopping Center.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, so and the other thing that we should talk about is, I don't know, what are there, 3 stoplights in Ashland now? It's still not a big stoplight town, but
Right.
there was one flashing light, I think, at 54 and 1.
And 1,
That,
yep.
that was the only
Yeah.
stoplight.
And I remember when like across Route 1 there was nothing. Like between 95 and Route 1.
Other than,
Because that's where my grandmother's house was.
to the right?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, that's right,
Which is
yeah.
where, what is it called now? It used to be Ruby Tuesday, but it's something else
It's
now.
a Marco's.
Marco's.
Yeah,
Marcos,
yeah. So that's
yeah.
where my grandmother's house was.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, and where Hampton Inn is
And
where
across-
Ross
yeah.
Luck's grandmother's house
Yeah,
was.
right,
Yep.
right.
Which now Ross and his family live in on the tracks.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, they moved from their house down on Gwathmey Church a year or two ago because the people, that was a big to-do when they took that house and put it on the back of the trailer and moved it over to the tracks.
Right.
They did that for some folks, and then they sold it a couple of years ago, and I think it was one of the Flanagans, who are the real estate moguls of Ashland.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, I think he heard about it, and he went to Ross and Corinne and said, be pretty cool. You want to live in your grandmother's house. And,
Yeah.
And they took advantage of it and have done a great
That's
job
awesome.
with it. Yeah. So
It's a good
really
move.
cool.
It's amazing moving a
Yeah.
whole house like that.
It's
Yeah.
amazing you get to move into your grandmother's old
Right.
house, too,
Yeah.
like that.
That used to be on Route 1, on 54 across Route 1.
Yeah, that wouldn't
Yep.
survive being there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you say there's nothing over Route 1. I agree if you're going on 54 towards 95 and you're looking to the on the southern side or to the right there, there's
Yeah.
definitely nothing there except a couple of houses.
Yeah.
But on the left side, that shopping center was there when we were pretty young. That had the A&P and the Safeway.
Yeah, I remember it being
Yep.
a field at one point.
And the Peebles.
I don't have that memory.
Well, I used to always go to my grandma's to, when
yeah,
my
yeah.
mom when my mom went to work.
Yeah,
Because she would always keep me.
Because my world was, I never had to cross Route 1. There was no reason for me to cross
So
Route 1.
whenever mom
Right.
had to work, she would drop me off at
I
Annie's.
would probably.
And that's where
yeah.
that's how I remember that there's just a field over there. But it wasn't. I mean, I was really young when they started building that shopping center over there, though.
Well, the one where the hardware store is now, was that the Safeway or the A&P or both? Did they switch?
I think it was both. I think
Yeah.
they switched.
Yeah, I don't remember.
All I remember was A&P or Safeway, one of those two, sold beer in those white cans with black writing, and it just said beer on the outside.
You gotta love that.
That's right. Yeah, I didn't. I'm like you, Paul. I didn't have a whole lot of. The only reason I would go across Route 1, I think, most of the time was either I was going to school, but generally we would take the back way. I
Yeah.
think, or I was going over to visit Ross because he lived across 95 and turned by the now BP.
Yeah, not far from where we are now.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, right. Yep. So, but
Well, Mount Herman.
Mount Herman. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So, I'm not sure. I mean, you probably have. I trust you and believe you. I think you probably remember it being a field, but I just remember being a shopping center that we would go to over there.
All right, let's rattle off. You mentioned a couple of good family names, and there are lots of good family names in Ashland. Let's just go rapid fire. Say a name, and if you got a fond, quick memory of them, we can say that, like Flanagan's and the real estate mogul thing. Nothing longer than that. So I'll go. We said the DePriest, but I love Barkley and Rob DePriest. They've been in
yeah.
Ashland forever, and love seeing them every time I get a chance to see them.
Oh, without a doubt. And Barkley's an icon at Randolph-Macon, and
Yeah.
and Rob is if she's the the de facto Madam President of Randolph-Macon,
She's
he's
the
right there.
Randolph-Macon mom.
Yeah, he's the first dad.
Yeah,
So,
he's definitely
kinda
first
deal.
dad.
So,
All right, what family you got beyond who we've talked about already, or talk more about somebody else we've already said?
Man, we said so many so far.
yeah, I mean, if you want to talk old school, I mean the Lucks. I mean, Luck Motor Company's been around since 1915. Great family business and
Stiles
still is
and the
to this
Lucks.
day. Stiles and Lucks. Yep, and still
But kept the Luck name.
Right.
Had the Luck name the
Yep.
entire time.
Yep.
Yeah. Is that your name? All right, we're going rapid fire. Duke's got one.
Jeez. Okay.
We're rolling. You can go Pollard if you want. Just to warm
We've
up.
already mentioned. Well, we mentioned everybody.
Yeah.
Did we?
I don't know.
Jim and Marilyn Pollard
Yes.
dealt with a lot of stuff.
We talked about Co so much. So it kind of feels like we talked about the Pollards.
Right.
Maybe too much about Co.
Yeah. I mean,
Just shout out to the Haley family, which
Yeah.
is my family, but
Your mom's side of the family, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
so
Right
yeah,
on.
like we said, growing up over there where Marco's is now. Yep, Nanny and Papa's house. A lot of good times there.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, your mom's side of the family's got a lot of cool people in it, for sure.
Yep.
yeah, my mom's family. My grandfather, my mom's dad, was born on College Avenue in a house.
Yeah, my dad was born on
On
England.
54, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the Chenrys. I mean, they were around here for a long time. St. James the Less, where I grew up going to church. I mean, there was a room named after them. Part of Day Field over at Randolph-Macon, the box at one time was named for the Chenrys and stuff.
Nice.
So, of course, they were. I think it was my mom's second or third cousin that was Penny Chenry who had Secretariat.
Yeah,
So,
we grew up near the Coxes, Jim. And
yeah, Jim
Cecil
and Cecil
Cox.
Cox. Yeah, great family.
Yeah,
And now, I mean, Margaret and her husband and their kids. Well, I think their kids. I don't know how many she's still got at home, but they're living in Ms. Wright's house at the corner of Howard and Duncan. You know, so it's great to have them back in.
Oh, okay.
Sam Red Carter and Madge Carter still.
Yep.
Saw her on Facebook today. Got her
She's
hair
still doing her thing.
done.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, just awesome to see her.
We'd be remiss if we didn't mention Lee's parents, Bob and Lula.
Bob and Lula. Yep. Great
For
family.
sure.
Had the pool. You know that we certainly spent some time over there. You know, doing a little swimming. So
Yeah, there's some stories from that pool that when we were not kids that we talked about some
and the college age years.
I probably remember coming the closest to ever drowning in that pool. I think because I think Dave Dillon sat on my head or something like that. So
That was like the only pool like in the town of Ashland. It seemed like
It probably still is.
that I remember. I mean, nobody else. I mean, nobody had a pool.
Carter Park.
Well, there's a
the
town
public.
pool, sure.
Oh, but you mean a people having a pool?
But
Yeah.
but I mean, back then, I mean, that was it.
They had a basement and a pool.
It was that or
Yeah,
drive to the
right.
Hanover Country Club.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was like go over there. I mean, we talk about our moms. Lula would take total care of us, with food and all that stuff, and we'd swim, and then we'd go down to the basement, and freaking, I mean, they had a bar down there. Not that we made use of that, but
Right.
they had an ice machine
They had everything.
and
a nice
ping pong
setup, yeah.
table.
They were ballers before people were called ballers.
Yes,
Yeah.
there you go. Correct.
And you mentioned Dave Dillon. Dave was my next door neighbor, and his family. I think Dave was an only kid. His family lived in the house my parents still live in to this day. We moved into 43 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Dave lived in that house.
I remember them living on Duncan Street, and then be interesting. I have no idea what Dave's up to, and then I don't know if Ned's still around, but he lived on the tracks for a while. I know that he rented a house that's.
Another good family, the Hugo family.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yep.
Jay and Kate were the kids. Nancy, and what was her dad's name?
That's a God darn. He was my scout
I don't
leader
know.
for a while.
John.
Yeah, I think it was John and Nancy. Yeah.
Yeah, a great family.
Oh yeah,
all
big time.
super. They're all really smart.
Yep.
Get a lot of great things done, and it couldn't be nicer.
Yep.
Could not be
Completely
nicer.
Agree.
Yep, for
Completely
sure.
Agree.
Yeah, 'cause they were right there on the tracks.
Yes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were in the house where. I know the folks, but I can't remember him. He's a doctor. They're nice folks too. Anyway.
And I grew up with the other Lucks, Cabell and BB Luck.
Yep.
Lived out on the farm, 54 towards the country club.
Right, yeah.
And they had that Camp Lakeview.
Camp Lakeview. Yep.
Back then, I
yeah.
loved doing
I
that.
found a picture of that going through my stuff a year ago or something like that, and it was just everybody. But I mean, that was I think I did that the year before I started working at King's Dominion. I think I was 15. I'd always, I'd done like what we all did, delivered newspapers or whatever. And then we were like the junior counselors out there or something like that.
Yeah,
So,
unpaid.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like
I never went to that camp.
I never went to it as a camper. We were just old enough to be
Yeah,
like junior
I think so,
counselors,
yeah.
and my job was to. And I hated swimming, but I was at the pool the entire time, and I was there to help the actual pool counselor,
Right.
teach kids how to swim or improve their swim strokes or whatever. And the pool was that was a pool, but it was out of the country, but it was like 30 feet long,
it
maybe,
was not big.
Yeah.
No. So, yeah.
but it was still a pool.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Did you guys ever jump off Horseshoe Bridge, or was that just a Pee Wee and me thing?
I don't think I ever did. I remember the rope swing out there. I did that all the time, but I don't think I ever had the courage to jump off the bridge.
Yeah. I don't
Or
think
maybe I
did.
was smart enough not to. One or the other.
I have stories from that, even though it was over 40 years ago. I still will not tell. I'll tell after we stop recording something Pee Wee did there. Freaking knucklehead.
I think
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that. So,
Yeah, Pee Wee and I would walk because we're at the country club, and I think my parents stopped being members there when we were 12 or 13, but maybe 13. And Pee Wee and I would walk in the middle of the woods, and we'd get to that bridge, and it's high.
it's pretty high.
And the water maybe 3.5 feet deep. I guess after it's rained a little bit. And Pee Wee, and there were the older guys that were doing it, and Pee Wee's like, "Let's go do it." I'm like, "You're nuts, dude! I'm not jumping off that bridge." Because you had, when you came down, as soon as your feet hit, you had to swing your feet forward.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you were going to break your legs or break your back
Yeah,
or whatever. And Pee Wee did it, and I'm like, well, now that Pee Wee's done it, I've got to do
you
it
got
too. There's no way. There's no way we're leaving here.
that's
with
right.
You telling the world that you did and I didn't do it.
Yeah, you don't want to. You'll never hear the end of that.
So I did it maybe a total of 3 times, and every time it was one of the scariest things I've ever done.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I ever did that.
Yeah, you're smarter than Pee Wee and me. Do you?
Yeah, that's the way I'd like to think about it.
Do we want to start to close with the drain pipe that
The storm
actually,
drain
that actually fed into the creek we've been talking about?
Yep.
Do you want to tell that? You were there.
Yep. And it was just it was you and me and Pee Wee, right?
It's just the three of us?
Yeah. So I mean, how big was that pipe? Was it 3 feet wide? I mean, I don't know.
It was big enough that we could fit it in.
And we were younger, like
but it was
how old?
it was
Like
not huge.
10 years old or something like that. Maybe?
I'd say it's
I don't know.
maybe 2 feet across.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 feet.
It's pretty small. So the three of us just decided. I don't know. I'm sure it was Pee Wee's idea.
Oh, it definitely was not. It was not your idea or my idea. There's no way.
I know it wasn't my idea because I remember you two went in there. I don't think I was going.
We had skateboards.
And then I eventually followed y'all in there.
We had old school skateboards. By old school, I
Yeah.
mean they didn't have much play in them. They were pretty
It was
stiff.
just, big old, just basically plastic with wheels on it.
Yeah, and so we put the skateboards.
Oh
on
yeah,
the
that's right.
sternum,
Because we were kind of like
and we were using our hands,
kind of paddling down there. Yeah,
because you couldn't sit Indian style in there. You couldn't get on your knees.
You would have scrape your knees all to pieces.
You had to be flat.
Yeah.
You had to be completely flat.
That's right. I do remember that.
And we kept going.
And y'all did.
Pee Wee and I couldn't stop. We were like, "There's something down here that we got to check out."
I think I was just following y'all, and then I remember where I stopped. It was right across from Jimmy's house because there was like the storm.
It's kind of where we all stopped, wasn't it?
Well, Pee Wee kept going.
I stopped.
From what I remember,
because when we could see out of that,
that's where
that drain.
And I remember I looked up and went, "That's Jimmy's house."
I'm like, "We're at Jimmy's house. We're like
that's pretty far."
And especially when you're little like that,
Yeah.
we thought it was like 3 miles away
Yeah.
from where we started. It was like not even half a mile, not even a quarter mile, probably.
Yeah, I
maybe about a quarter mile.
So I have
Maybe,
to.
yeah.
I've only heard bits and pieces. So where'd you go in?
So if you're going from our old neighborhood to his house and you cross the creek and you look to
Yeah.
the left, there was a drain pipe right down there.
Yeah.
That ran the baseball field you're talking about with
Yeah,
Tad.
it
Kinda
ran,
ran on that side.
It ran
of
along the street,
Hanover.
Kinda
straight
right
up
at Lee Avenue right
Hanover
there.
Avenue.
Hanover.
Yeah, Hanover and Lee.
Yeah.
right
So
in there.
basically,
Yeah.
like when you cross over Stony Run
Yeah.
at Lee Avenue, basically.
Okay.
But
Gotcha.
the opposite side of Hanover from where
Yeah.
Pee Wee grew
So on the
up.
on the baseball side. Yeah.
Yep. That's
The new
crazy.
field.
Well, yeah, you and I
So we
basically
stopped.
turned
I was
around.
like, oh my gosh.
Pee Wee kept going. I don't know where he thought he was going to
I don't know
go.
how far he went, but
Because you couldn't get out. We weren't strong enough to lift the manhole covers.
Yeah, we had to-
and we
yeah.
couldn't fit through the actual
the only thing was
slit.
we had to like squinch ourselves.
It's the dumbest
turn
thing.
around.
It's one of the dumbest things we've ever done.
I was gonna say that.
There's no telling what we could have run into in
You managed
there.
to turn yourselves around, and then you came back out.
I think. I don't know,
Well,
I
because
guess
it
we
was a
did.
box kind of thing
Oh,
where we
okay,
could see
yeah,
Jimmy's
yeah,
house, and
right.
we could. I don't know if we could stand up, but we could move around a little bit better.
Yeah, we had. It was more room there. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows what we could have run into in there?
But that was the first place you could turn around, because the other option was to do the thing backwards.
Yeah, because I don't guess we had enough room to turn around at any other time, right?
I don't
it was
think we
too
did.
tight, wasn't it?
Yeah, there's no way we turn around.
Yeah.
So y'all turned around and went back, and Pee Wee kept
Pee
going.
Wee kept going.
I mean, looking back at it now, Duke and I should have never listened to anything Pee Wee ever said, especially
True.
that day.
Yeah.
He's the kid who threw the firecrackers in the fireplace,
I
Yeah.
know. So,
among other things.
among other
would
things.
we have to ask him like where he ended up, or do y'all know?
I think he kept going in, and I think we stuck around because we were worried about him, and we eventually were yelling at him like, "Dude, you got to come back! Like you're
don't
not
know,
going to
man.
end up in any good place."
My memory is I bailed. I was out of there. Pee Wee, you go do your thing. I'm out.
I think I was in limbo between doing what you did and Pee Wee.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
I maybe should have gone with Duke. Pee Wee made it out of there, obviously.
Obviously that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I hung around and waited at the entrance to the pipe, but
All right, let's end with this. Your fondest memory from growing up in Ashland. Could be anything.
Oh, man.
And it can be something we've already talked about. It's a tough one, right?
It's very tough.
I think it's everything we talked about.
I think
It's like all the stories that we have growing up together.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
it's-
I think just doing anything where we were free.
We would just, and that's another
do
thing.
whatever we wanted.
That's another thing. Like we would wake, like I would wake up, eat breakfast, I'm gone. Mom wouldn't see me until dinner time.
That's
yeah,
right.
I mean,
and Mom didn't
I mean,
care. And there's
yeah.
no way
And
Mom
that-
knew
I
where
mean,
you were.
yeah, that's like
there's no way she knew where
Nowadays, no way.
Yeah.
you were. And
we
we
would
do
just-
it. The funny thing, we're the generation that got to be free.
Yeah.
As long as the sun was up, it was a Saturday,
Yep.
we got to be free, or some summer day,
I
got to
was
do
at
whatever we
home,
wanted.
I ate breakfast,
and we're the
left,
parents that
came back
started
up
the
for dinner.
helicopter parent stuff.
Yes,
Yep.
agreed. Yeah.
Because of all the trouble we got into when we were little.
Well, and then social media, 24/7 news, and all
Right.
that, and scaring people.
The world's a little more scary now, I guess, too. Yeah.
Yeah, ignorance is bliss in a lot of ways, and that explains a lot of our childhood.
Yep.
All right, well, hey, it's been fun reminiscing. We will definitely do this again. We may talk about being young adults, and we won't tell a lot of stories from those days.
Yes.
A lot of that has to be censored.
Absolutely, and this, whether the statute of limitations is done or not, we probably still shouldn't talk about some.
We won't mention names when we talk about that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
We'll just say
code names.
we'll
give
do
away
code names. Yep. That's a good idea.
We'll have to get the crack research staff on the statute of limitations.
There's some fun stories from when we were in our 20s.
Oh, yeah. Without a doubt.
Oh, my.
All right, guys, appreciate it. Really enjoyed talking to you guys about this.
Thank you,
Yeah,
friends.
it's been fun,
Appreciate
man.
it. It's been
Appreciate
great.
it.